also has some resources. We also talked about challenges, looking at student engagement, technology, real estate, at college for implementing social distancing, IEP students, and so on. And also we had two guest speakers, Spatial Vis, eGrowth Education, and also Tooling U SME 90-day trial access. So one note about that. So some of you, especially K through 16 educators, hopefully you guys have signed up and started using Tooling U SME. The goal is really to give you the option of looking at how you can augment your curriculum or even include that into your curriculum. So right now, as a sector statewide, we are actually going to start sending funding request forms. We are working on a group discount, a statewide group discount, and the possibility of helping you guys offset some of the costs. But first thing is we need to figure out if you actually find it useful. So your comments, your feedback, and trying it would be really helpful. Then I'm going to move on. We're going to take 5 minutes, hopefully 5 minutes, to go through these resources. There are a lot of resources out there. So we decided to have a bi-weekly San Diego and Imperial region advanced manufacturing sector newsletter. Some of you may have already received it. For those who are new to this session, if you haven't, just let me know or let Monica know. We can add you to the listserv. So the next thing is San Diego County of Ed is going to start their course building meetings. They are happening end of July and early August. I can show you guys the link. It's over here. So for those who have your screen up, this is the calendar. So what I think would apply for us would be the engineering and architecture on July 31st, and then manufacturing and product development on August 4th, 2020. So this is the San Diego County of Education collaboration work group. So hopefully K-12 educators, you guys can sign up. Okay, go back to this. So another good news, we've been working with the American Welding Society, and we were able to get a 30 days free trial access for all educators or even administrators, if you guys are on the line, to try out their digital library, online educational library. That's the difference. There's codes and standards for the digital library, and also the welding curriculum. So the sign up link, I will send it after this meeting, probably tomorrow, and it will be included in our newsletter. It looks something like that. Very easy, just take 3 to 5 minutes of your time. Fill out your name, email, the type of school that you're currently at, which region, what do you teach? And then we also included, the pricing details, and we want to know if you decide to go ahead with it, how many students would be using. Again, the reason we are doing this is so that we can get a statewide discount on behalf of the K-16 educators. So we will send that out pretty soon. Okay, a lot of info. Please bear with me. Okay, good news. Autodesk Fusion 360 is actually offering a community college internship at $25 an hour. That's quite a bit of money, and I think at least $7 to $8 above the minimum living wage. The time commitment is an average of 5 hours a week. If you guys want to know more information, just email me or Monica, and I can give you the right contact. Fusion 360 and Generative Design Trainer Series. So there are 2 sessions right now. Even I want to sign up for this. The trainer from Fusion 360 are going to actually give us training. There are 26 spots left statewide, so make sure you let us know if you want to join. Last but not least, there's a summer session hosted by Autodesk Fusion 360 Friday at 10 a.m. Central. So I would say that's 9 a.m. our time. And it's featuring San Diego City College, one of their adjunct instructors, Ray Passman. So very excited that he got selected to showcase what they are doing. for now. So I'm going to jump right to the success, challenges, and concerns we have. This is open to everyone to speak, right? We want to talk about students' engagement. I know that the last meeting, some of you said there was only 50-50 participants. You know, you expect 10 students, only 5 show up, and they are not as engaged. They are playing video games. Is that still happening? How's everything going? We're hoping to keep this to about maybe 7 minutes so that we can let our, guest speakers jump on board and start telling us what they've learned. Nobody?
Feel free to unmute yourselves if you guys want to speak. I had to mute everyone.
So this is really open to everybody. I don't know if you guys are still facing challenges. Or if you have any promising practices on how were you able to transition online, how successful it was, and also reopening. Was there also real estate issue? We don't have enough space.
Hi, is this, are you asking in general?
Yeah, in general.
Oh, okay.
Specifically, I guess hands-on, because most of advanced manufacturing are hands-on. Is that Javier?
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. We don't have direct advanced manufacturing at the college that I'm at, Grossmont College. We provide more of the other related parts to the supply chain, which is like the IT, the programming, those kinds of things. But in terms of where we are as a college, we're still making plans for fall, and we have a very small summer schedule, but we're still doing a lot of work in transitioning over in the fall.
Okay, so by fall, it would be fully online?
Yes, by fall, most of the programs will be fully online, with a few exceptions like nursing, for example. That's going to be delivered with a lot of social distancing and a lot of follow through on protocols to make sure that things are clean and wiped, etc. Those kinds of things.
I see. Okay, thank you. And also for the audience out there, if you don't know who is Javier, Javier is the Career Education Dean at Grossmont College. Javier, would you mind sharing how, if you are aware, how did the nursing program, how did they carry out their social distancing protocol? Was there any real estate issues, like not enough space to fill the students?
We haven't carried it out yet. We're about to. So we have some plans where you keep, the appropriate distance, sanitizing plans, schedules, and we haven't, we're in the plan stages. We're trying to incorporate all the protocols. So there's not, we don't have a lot of data that shows how it went because we're still in that process.
Okay, got it. Yeah, understood. And I know in industry, what they told me is they tried to stagger the schedule. So instead of 2 shifts, they have started to do 3 shifts. But of course, I know it might be different for the college. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Hi, Rushan. This is Carissa.
Oh, hello.
I was just going to chime in real quick and let you know that's kind of what we're doing over at Miracosta for our machinist and engineering tech programs that are basically 90% hands-on, is we split the groups in smaller groups, and then we converted it into a hybrid program. So there's minimal students on site. And then we converted one of our restrooms into a hand washing stations. Just trying to follow the CDC guidelines of, open airflow and wearing gloves and washing before and after and sanitizing. And we also, as you know, manufactured face shields. So we provided those with all of our students to move forward too. So we're actively doing that right now, and it's been working fairly well and fairly smoothly too.
Thank you, Carissa. Hello. So Carissa is from Miracosta TCI. I actually visited them a couple of times because we were working on the face shield projects, and I did see the way they social distance themselves is really very strict, because one person can only be in the office or in the room at one time, especially at the reception area. Is that correct?
Somewhat. Obviously, we have to help people and guide people, but yes, we're trying to be as, if we can do 6 feet, that's our whole goal. But if we're closer than 6 feet for some of the projects, then we have to wear our face shields as well as face mask, and face masks all students and staff have to wear 100% of the time.
Okay, thank you so much. So for those who are in the audience today, make sure you reach out to Javier or Carissa if you have questions, because they seem to have some protocols in place that would be very helpful. Any other questions, discussions? If not, we might move on to our next topic. I'm counting to 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we are actually very honored to have 2 guests today. The first guest, her name is Madalyn Nguyen. I hope I said that correctly. If not, you can correct me. And I'm going to let Monica Rosas introduce her. I have heard a lot of great things about her. Career education specialist Joe Austin said that she's a force of nature. So, okay, Monica, would you like to introduce Madalyn?
Of course, it would be my pleasure. Madalyn is in the Engineering Academy at Poway High School. I'm going to read some parts of her bio. She has quite an impressive biography, and if she's okay with it, we can share it in tomorrow's recap email that we send with the recording of the session, etc. So she is, like I said, an incoming junior at Poway High School. She's a STEM enthusiast and first robotics fanatic. She started her journey in robotics in sixth grade with First Lego League, FLL, and 7th grade First Technical Challenge, which she led her team to the first World Championship as a mechanical co-lead and outreach ambassador. She joined the Poway High School Team Spider as an experienced robotics 8th grader. As a freshman, she established chapters for the National Center for Women in Information Technology and SWE, the Society of Women Engineers at Poway High School. She champions, and I love this part, she champions for STEM diversity, especially for the underserved and disadvantaged. She volunteers about 200 hours since 2016. And during the fall season of the First Lego League, she mentors about 10 teams locally and globally. Another thing that I would mention that I loved is she started the first robotics program at Wilson Middle School in City Heights. This program is thriving in its 2nd season, and of course it includes female representation. As we can see in the slideshow, she was recently appointed the Chief Project Officer, where she will manage and be responsible for 15 sub-team leads, and has won numerous awards in STEM. Another thing I wanted to mention before I forget, she's also coordinating a series of webinars, career series. In fact, Rashawn and I participated in one last night where they had an amazing turnout, about 60 young ladies, and it was on health careers. And she gave us the green light, Madalyn, correct me if I'm wrong, to share the upcoming one with the group. So we'll include that in the email tomorrow as well. And it's coming up on June 23rd, and it'll have a virtual facility tour to 2 companies. So Madalyn, welcome to the group, and please go ahead and start.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. So one other thing you didn't mention, I'm also part of the Engineering Academy at Poway High School, which follows the PLTW pathway. So I guess first off, sharing my experience with distance learning engineers, it was something new for me that I was going to all my life. So transition to classroom classes was definitely something unique. Some of the pros that I experienced was it was really nice to myself. I had self-paced plans that basically they was for a Monday and I was able one day as a round. So really nice. Um, so and that was one that I would definitely say it was a pro. And another advantage was probably the ability, to stay home and do my work at home. I didn't have to commute to school, and I live kind of far from Poway High School, so it was really nice to not have to have that day drive to school and back. Also, the cost efficient for the so that was also very convenient in my opinion. And I'm sure my parents would be happy about that, not having to drive me to school and back home every day. And I guess another one of the pros was the students were able to learn how to virtually use different programs on, like Google software. I know during the time in class, which is computers. So it's really nice to get, I guess, knowledge feel and learn how to use software that we might be using in the future. Because I know a lot of things are going digital rather than having paper assignments. So it was really cool to be able to turn in all of my assignments online. And it was great knowing that everything I needed to learn was just on my laptop. I didn't really need anything else, or like backpack text. Really great having all the uses rather than having to carry around tons of paper and stuff like that. Now, along with all of course, there's going to be disadvantages. Now, a lot of the disadvantages that I faced along with my peers and classmates is although as amazing as it is being able to learn at home, there are always tons of distractions. For the most part, I've always known school as a place I go to school and that's where I learn, and it's a learning environment. But at home, that's normally where I have fun and I play and stuff like that. So it's very kind of difficult to change, play mode to like school mode and really focus on my assignments. So no, I know that was a difficulty that many of my classmates ran into. There's tons of distractions. And of course, I have all my other family members. I love them to death, but they're kind of distracting sometimes. So that was kind of unfortunate. Although a lot of my teachers had Zooms and stuff, so that was able to keep us focused for the most part. Now, another big, I guess, con that a lot of me and my classmates faced was the amount of different softwares that my teachers were using. So yes, having all of these online softwares to turn in their assignments were great, but I think all 5 of my different teachers used different softwares, whether it was Google Classroom or MyConnect, or just emailing us our assignments and stuff like that. They all use different softwares, so it's kind of hard to juggle all different softwares and turning in my assignments from 5 different locations. So that was kind of super difficult to keep up with. So I guess in the future, it'd be really great if all my teachers could use like maybe Google Classroom or MyConnect in the future, just to make it a little bit less confusing. Now, another really, I guess, big con that a lot of my classmates face was the lack of social interaction. Because when we go to school, we get to interact with our peers, and it's kind of there for like moral support, and it's for mental health. You get to talk with your friends, talk about what's going on, and even being able to work with them at school. A lot of my classes, we do a lot of peer editing, and you work with your classmates, and you kind of lose that factor. And as a lot of you guys are engineering teachers, as you know, in engineering classes, you work in with your classmates and in teams and stuff like that for projects, and you kind of lost that factor, which was really unfortunate. And of course, I tried my best to keep in contact with a lot of my classmates. I had them read over some of my essays and stuff like that, but it was extremely difficult to be able to work with them. And another, I guess, unfortunate con is a lot of, I guess, some of my classmates, I heard they face this. Not everyone has fast Wi-Fi and like computers that they could use at home to keep up with all of their distance learning. And I know, in the engineering classes, you learn programming in CAD, and I know the Chromebooks that the the school lent out, they aren't strong enough to run the CAD softwares and some of the programming softwares, which is super unfortunate. So you also lost a little bit of, the engineering factor. Because I know I really enjoyed learning how to CAD in my engineering classes, so not everyone was able to experience that like I did. And actually, last year my final was on CAD, so I know a lot of people missed out on the final too, which is very, very unfortunate. Now, on to the next question. How can teachers best leverage Zoom and other online platforms and softwares and engage students? So, like I said before, the main softwares, or I guess programs that my teachers used were Zoom, of course, for lectures and webinars and stuff like that. We also used Google Classroom, which was my personal favorite. My school uses MyConnect and then Synergy for grades. And then a lot of my teachers sent out tons of emails with all of our assignments there. I guess, like I said before, my favorite was Google Classroom. I really enjoyed the classes that my teachers used Google Classroom because it was really easy to see all of the assignments that they were assigning, and it was also super easy to turn it in. All I had to do was take a picture of my assignment and send it in, and I was able to get feedback decently quickly. And it was really great because there was also like, you know, a chat room where I could talk to my classmates if I had any problems or anything, and it was really easy to communicate with my teacher. And actually the cool thing is what my math teacher did is they did YouTube lessons and they would film a lesson and then just upload it. So it's super easy to also learn from Google Classroom. We also use MyConnect, which was also a pretty good software for the most part, or I guess program that they use. But it was a little bit confusing sometimes because teachers would assign a lot of assignments, but not all of them were due. And I feel like some of my teachers just didn't completely use it to the full ability. So that's another thing that was really unfortunate with this whole virtual learning situation, that a lot of the teachers, they were new to all of these new softwares and programs, and they kind of didn't exactly have a lot of time to learn how to use it. And I know it was super difficult for them to convert all of their in-classroom curriculum to an entirely virtual curriculum. And I felt like personally as a student, I was kind of losing some of my education because, you know, they weren't able to convert all of their curriculum. And I felt like, I wasn't getting the full experience that a lot of my teachers wanted us to get because they had to cut a lot of their lessons short, and, you know, they kind of had to filter out which I guess lessons students should learn and which they shouldn't. So I definitely missed out on most of the things that I would have learned in class, which was super unfortunate. So I guess how can teachers best leverage Zoom and other softwares? Something that I thought was very innovative by my Spanish teacher is he had us do a lot of interactive games and lessons during our Zooms. I don't know if you guys have heard of, but there's you know, games like Quizlet Live and also Kahoot It. So it was really fun being able to, you know, it was very, I guess, what's the word? I guess interactive with the teacher and the students, even though he had us turn our webcams off, but it was very interactive. So it kind of made sure that all the students were paying attention during the Zoom webinars and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of times, not me personally, but of course some of my classmates, they would just turn on the Zoom and then like go back to sleep or something.
What was, Madalyn, what was the game again when you said that your Spanish teacher used? What was the app or the software?
He used
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Kahoot It, which is spelled K-A-H.
Oh, Kahoot.
And then Quizlet.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so it's like an interactive game where the teacher can put up a bunch of questions. It's kind of like a game show type thing where students are able to use their phones to answer questions. And it was really great to keep students, you know, active, and it was really interactive to make sure students weren't slacking during class.
What was the name of the second one? I'm sorry.
Quizlet Live.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Quizlet Live. So that was also a really great one. But yeah,
Thank you.
that was definitely one of the more helpful things that my teachers did because it just made sure that everyone in class was active and paying attention. So yeah.
How did they do that?
So
how did they do that?
So basically, my teacher, he would come up with the Kahoot It or Quizlet Lives before class, and then in class he would share his screen where it would show us the question that was being asked, and then all the students on their phones or, you know, iPads or other devices, they would be answering the questions in their own home, and it would work all together. And it was kind of like a game show type thing where it will tell you whether you got the question right or wrong, and it's interactive because you can only answer it when this question pops up on the screen, and you only have like 20 seconds to answer the question.
Okay, thank you. I have some questions, but I'm not sure if the audience, do you guys have any questions for Madalyn? Thank you so much, Madalyn.
Oh, of course.
I think most of you are muted.
I don't have a question, but I have kind of a comment based to kind of bring it back into SIM, right? Or computer integrated manufacturing and advanced manufacturing. I was able to use, like she said, the Zoom and a playground that I created in Onshape.
Oh,
Onshape is an online CAD software. And what the cool thing is about, like, you know, you're sharing your screen here. I could share my screen with a number of students at the same time, and we could work on the same build at the same time. And through a Zoom environment. So I really suggest that we investigate that. And also Fusion 360 is going to become a little bit more available online as we enter the fall time. I know that that's coming, but Onshape is a really good cursor to get kids involved and where you can actually collaborate online and use Zoom at the same time.
Yeah, thank you, Harold. Actually, you brought up a really good point. We actually shared some Onshape info on our last 2 newsletters and actually had a chance to speak with Onshape representative. The way I saw Onshape was, it's like a CAD software, and it's like Google for CAD, where the students and the teacher can collaborate, but then there's also tracking to make sure that, if this was a test or assignment, the teacher, knew the thought process of the student. So yes, I also highly recommend that educators check out Onshape and also Fusion 360, because right now it's free for educators to try it out. So why not? Thank you. Anyone else? If not, I do have one question for Madalyn. Madalyn, are you ready?
Yeah.
So you might have covered this, but it was a little bit blurry for me at the beginning. So my question for you was, you mentioned, we all know that some students, some peers are distracted at home. So, and you mentioned, so how did you guys as classmates, did you guys try to like peer influence each other? So I'm sure you are self-motivated, but how about like influencing your classmates to pay attention, something like that? I don't know.
So of course every student's very different. I actually have a younger sister who's 1 grade underneath me, and she was always on top of all of her assignments. And don't mean to call myself out a little bit, but I was a little bit of a slacker, a little bit of procrastination. But it was definitely kind of helpful. I had a group chat with some of my classmates who shared classes with me, and we were able to say, hey, you guys, this assignment is due, tomorrow. Make sure you get it done. Or this assignment is really hard, so make sure you put a lot of work into it. So it was kind of helpful to have group chats where we were able to remind each other when stuff was due, and if we needed help, we were able to ask each other. So there was a little bit of peer influence in when I turned in my assignments and stuff like that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
We have time.
Any other questions?
Yeah, sorry. We have time for one more question before we move on to Professor Samuel.
Okay, I guess no questions.
Thank you so much, Madalyn.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Madalyn and Madalyn's mom. Thank you so much.
Dr. Tracy, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And now Rushan will introduce Professor Samuel Colton, Senior. And I'll unmute Professor Samuel. And this information on the screen right now, that's what I mentioned before when I was introducing Madalyn. We'll share this information with all the group via email tomorrow. Thank you. Now, I'll hand it over to you, Rushan.
Okay, thank you, Monica. So before I introduce Professor Colton Senior to speak with us, I would like to thank Ashley Walters, if he's actually on the line. He's an assistant professor at Palomar College, welding program. He connected both of us. So before I invite him to speak, I would like to give a really quick bio about him. There's so much. I don't think I can finish this in 2 minutes. Okay, so Professor Colton is currently working, it's also on the screen. He's currently working as a full-time professor of welding technology at Central Arizona College. He's also retired from Arizona Western College as the professor of welding and manufacturing in 2017. His teaching includes working in California, Imperial Valley College as an adjunct professor, as well as 2 years as a high school CT director and instructor for dual high school and college credit courses. Professor Colton is also the founder of a global philanthropic endeavor, Welders Without Borders, which he will tell us more today. It's now in its 20th year. They have an annual youth event, which I find it really fascinating. I actually watched the YouTube. You guys should just Google it. It's called Welding Thunder. where students compete to manufacture a completed project in 2 days under the watchful eye of industry judges and officials. Prior to coming to education full-time, he worked as the owner of Colton's Welding and Machine Works, primarily serving, I believe, the United States Army Yuma Proving Grounds. His formal education is from Arizona Western College, Northern Arizona University, AWS, National Center for Construction Research, and he's also an active NCCER master trainer. So Professor Colton has a really extensive experience in welding and manufacturing. Last but not least, well, that's not last but not least, there's a lot more, but I need to finish this. Professor Colton has also traveled extensively touring and working with manufacturing companies and educational institutions in the United States, Bolivia, Mexico, Peru, and Spain, of which all I want to go. He's a member of the Scientific Council for the Polish Language Technical Publication and produces a series of podcasts on manufacturing and welding. So without further ado, I would like to formally have Professor Colton, speak with us. Hello, Professor Colton, are you there?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Oh, hi. Yes, I can see you. Thank you so much for attending our session. So,
thank you.
To begin, would you like to tell us a little bit more about Welders Without Borders and how did it come about and what are your plans? And also really tell us the powers of welding and manufacturing, if you will.
Yes, one thank you to Ashley Walters for connecting us. Choose your friends better, I guess, would be the moral of the day. But in this case, it's a good thing. And it's great to collaborate with you in this discussion. Welders Without Borders. Give you a quick history. I'm I think a positive product of the old junior high to high school to work or to college to university shop. We called it shop back then. Now we call it career technical education. And so my evolution was as a child. And so for my colleagues that are K through 12, I want to encourage you that if you can bring anything to children that engages them to use tools, robotics, science, build things, make things, that's where I got my start and my passion for manufacturing. And so learning hard skills like welding, machining, plastics, polymers, casting, fiberglass, electronics, wood tools. All of those were my junior high to high school experience, and they actually allowed me to have employment to go to college, and I worked my way through the university system. So Welders Without Borders really was a birth of me coming to higher ed in the year 2000. I was in my early 40s, and my vice president, Dr. Richard Drum, asked me a very, let's say, shocking question, actually, for faculty. He said, "Professor, do we really need a welding program? And do we need that many welders?" Now, of course, I think it was kind of one of those double-edged questions because I'm being hired as their full-time faculty. But it kind of took me back and as I pondered that over the coming weeks, I was driving home and I seen a sign in my community, and it's a Campesinos Sin Fronteras, and that's Farm Workers Without Borders. And so I kind of mulled that over, and I thought, well, if they can have farm workers without borders and doctors without borders, maybe we need welders without borders. And really that was the impetus that started Welders Without Borders with me, and then I formalized it. And I actually went to Mexico the next year, and I lived for 6 weeks working in a company's manufacturing operation. They were a twin border plant. And I wanted to show Dr. Drum that what I was teaching students was relevant and portable in a global economy. And so that first experience in Mexico led to other experiences in Peru and Spain and Bolivia. And before I knew it, I'd spent close to 2 years of my life working as a volunteer teacher, welder, mentor, consultant, traveling to these other countries, working with teachers and companies there. And I'm not alone. On my website, you'll see a fella had gone to Haiti after the earthquake. And he did welder training in Haiti and took the mission quite serious of Welders Without Borders. And I think that we've done a lot of positive things and plan to continue to do a lot of positive things. But you're right, you can look up our youth build program, Welding Thunder, which is a manufacturing competition. And so without too much time on Welders Without Borders, Soldadores Sin Fronteras, our logo shows the welder welding North and South America together. That logo is very specific. The language above is in Spanish, the language below, and it's a reversal in North and South America. But what I'm trying to accomplish with that is communicate that we all build each other's world together. And that's been the mission of Welders Without Borders. What we do is less important. It's who we do it with and who we do it for.
That's awesome.
You asked a question about how's welding changed over the years. And so I've collected welding textbooks since I was a high school student. Somehow everybody's got their thing they collect. Well, for me, it was books. And so I have a almost unnatural collection of welding books. But the textbooks have evolved. They've evolved in complexity. They evolved in the technology. Then they evolved into comprehensive, almost biblical size textbooks. And now there's a deconstruction of textbooks, and they're becoming smaller, more focused, and more modularized in the instruction. And part of what I think is driving that is the need for skilled workers. And instead of looking for skilled workers that have such a global and comprehensive skill set in education, companies are willing to train specifically for process applications because they need to fill job slots and get people out on their shop floors doing work. One of the trends in welding that I think is changing dramatically for us in advanced manufacturing is what I like to call a hybrid shop. We're automating and roboticizing everything that we can, but at the same time, that's really just to compensate for those workers that we don't have. And so we don't have them, we're gonna automate it, but at the same time, those robots are not autonomous. And so they require critical thinking skills and people to manage them and supervise them and keep them on track, so as to say, and facilitate the process. And so I think that's going to be the future. I think that this idea of children playing games is a good thing, because you see children are developing skills where they're working with 3D animation. They're using skills that are remote. And so if you think of deep water welding repairs, where you're using a submersible robot that's performing the job function in a very dangerous environment, you need those same gaming skills that young people have today, and then adapting those to the management of that automation process. And so as we continue to have artificial intelligence become part of everything we're doing, especially in manufacturing, and then the end user who's going to benefit from that manufactured item or process or technology, I expect that teaching young people about the use of artificial intelligence will be just as important as anything else we're doing. So I don't discount the cell phone in the student's hand. There was that time when first we were telling students, put it down, turn it off. And that's such a part of our adult life, that why do we think that we need to do that in the classroom? What we need to do better in the classroom is incorporate the use of that smartphone. That's an extension of our persona. And I think that we'll have more success. Companies are using those, and now as the pandemic has continued to rage, the smartphone has taken on a whole new dimension in almost every aspect of our life.
I agree. Thank you so much for sharing. It's very interesting you brought up artificial intelligence. I didn't really expect that. The full extent I was expecting was just robotic welding, and that's it. So I'm glad that you brought it up. So I do have, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I want you to understand that welding drives so many other aspects of our lives that in my most humble communications, I try to let people know that welding makes everything else possible. But when you reverse that, also this whole idea of intuitive robotic welding is now on the cusp. It's being developed, it's being deployed, where the robot has sensors, has vision recognition software, and so it speeds up our ability to manufacture, because we can present to the robot in a fixture items that need to be welded as a part of the process to final product production. But the robot's able to be more intuitive and adapt for misalignment or changes in design quicker. And I expect over time that the robot will do more than you ever thought it would in terms of final production. And don't just think in terms of metal welding, think in terms of plastics and ultrasonic welding, laser welding. These are becoming common. They used to be considered an exotic process, and I don't think they are anymore. So everything that we're teaching K through 12 applies to manufacturing, because ultimately what is life? Life is manufacturing and the benefits of it. So when you go to a thrift store, I like to go to thrift storing because everything in the thrift store somebody manufactured, and then it's evolved down and fallen out of favor for something that's either more attractive in an aesthetic value or more functional in our lives. And that's why it's been cascaded into that part of the waste stream. So anytime we can upcycle, it's a good day.
Oh, wow. I really like what you said, life is manufacturing. I think that's a really good slogan, don't you think, Monica?
It should be our slogan now.
Yeah, and also a little bit of my personal story. I actually got fascinated by engineering because I was playing with my mom's makeup. I was like, how do they make all these really cool stuff that she put on her face? You know, then that's when I start getting curious, you know, things are actually made. Everything we do are actually made somehow. So thank you for sharing. I do have a few questions. You mentioned critical thinking as one of the skills, and I think in the K to 16 system, we call that one of the 21st century skills. So what are some other soft skills or 21st century skills you think, you just pick top 3 that you think would be very useful in this industry?
I was thinking about that before I got going here, and my 3 are speaking, but that's almost like a given, but it's clear speaking, positive speaking, and inclusive speaking. How we communicate with each other and in the workplace. Can we speak clearly? Can we speak positively? And does our speak include those people who are in our work environment, and consider that they're people, and so they bring to work all of who they are. And so our speech needs to be inclusive and not exclusive in our speaking. Another one I had was teaming. When I talk about teaming includes leadership, and there's a designated leader, and then there's always the emerging leader, that person on the team who can run with one or 2 aspects of the total team output. But then there's what I call discipleship. And that means that you have to be a good follower within the context of the team you're working in. And can you support the leader for the benefit of the group's effort? And then within that is friendship. And so friendship, being able to have a friendly environment. Who wants to go to work with people they don't like? And more like, I want to go to work with people I do like. And then the last one on the soft skills I had was called the ability for fulfillment and fulfilling the mission and goals of the organization. Can you fulfill yourself, and that your work is good for you, and that you want to help others be fulfilled in their work? Those are important soft skills that contribute to a positive and productive manufacturing environment. I'll quickly go to hard skills. Work ethic. You know, there's no substitute for people who can be to work on time, because manufacturing isn't about process. It's about a process that's selling time, how well we make it, how quick we make it, with as few defects that we make it, to the design that we have. And so if you can't be on time and do the small things, then it's going to cascade throughout the entire day at work. And so contributing means contributing to the efficiency of the overall operation. Know your part. when manufacturing is so broad, we can't just narrow it down. So you need math skills or you need some other type of skill. Manufacturing is so all encompassing. What we really need to do is say, do you know your part for the manufacturing operation that you're participating in? And can you do it well? And can you critically think well enough to help improve the process so that that product or part, it goes out and increases the profit? And probably my last part with the time we have is, do you understand the process on your component, the small aspect that you might be responsible for, but can you zoom out and understand the overall mission of the manufacturing operation that you're in and contribute to the final ship? You know, I always would teach a class on introduction to manufacturing. We'd form a micro manufacturing company. The students would apply for jobs within that company. We would design a product unique to that group, make 5 lots of 5 for a total of 25, and then we had to ship. And if we didn't ship, we didn't get a grade. And that meant everybody in the class. And that was the agreement on the class. I never had a class that did not ship. There were some tense moments towards the end of a semester, but it was always exciting. And it made the academic aspect of the course have a real sense of reality. And probably the best thing I'd hear from a student is say, you know, Mr. Colton, I couldn't tell the difference when I left school and went to work, because we'd also toured manufacturing plants. I can't say enough about partnering with industry and getting the students out and let them see. If I had my way, I would have an entire semester course that was nothing but plant tours, plant discussions, and then use that as a segue to discuss principles of modern manufacturing. Just me, but that's something I value a lot. And anyone who's worked with me knows I get my students into partnerships with our manufacturing companies.
That's great. Thank you so much, Professor.
How are we doing for time? Am I being a good speaker today?
Yeah,
Yes.
being a good speaker, and we are just
Am I
in time
good?
to open it
I
up.
love what I'm doing, and I love talking about it. So that can be a good and a bad
No, that's
thing.
great. We
Did
like
want
your
to
passion.
share. Oh, sorry, guys. I wanted to share some comments on the chat. Professor Colton, Joe Roman just wrote that you were his boss when he was teaching the electrical program at AWC back in 2015, 2016, and that you're awesome.
Thank you. That's because I surround myself with awesomeness. You can't be smart, have smart people with you. But I love it, and I have since I've been a child. And my nephew's wife is a science teacher here in our community, and she championed an all-girl team to a national robotics competition and placed. And she's always integrating manufacturing and components of it. But it's something that sometimes we wait till high school and we say, well, we're going to wait till high school. But we can do a Kaizen or Kanban activity with children. They get it. And it can be something as simple as manufacturing cookies. You know, that's one of my favorite metallurgy activities. I actually have adapted a Betty Crocker recipe as a metallurgy teaching moment. And all the ingredients are renamed with the chemical elements of a metal. And then we condition it. So when you think about the 3 engineering materials, metals, polymers, and ceramics, that we extract and harvest those, we turn them into a raw industrial stock, we value add them through either chemical, mechanical, or thermal processing to come up with a product. Ultimately, the fundamentals of manufacturing remain the same, converting physical elements that were started as a thought and end as a consumer product.
Okay, thank you. I really like that part where you change up the curriculum to make it more exciting and interesting. Monica, do we still have any comments?
We just have a couple of comments asking for the recording and the transcript. And then Harold Mumford shared a comment saying, thank you, Professor Colton, excellent presentation. And I think we have a couple of minutes for questions from the audience before we close. It's open. Anyone who wants to ask a question or comment, just unmute yourself.
I hate
This is
dead airtime. I got a comment I'd share if we don't have a question.
Yeah, if not, I'm going to jump and ask questions. Nobody?
I have a
Okay.
question.
Oh, great.
This is Ed Hidalgo from the Cajon
Ed.
Valley Union School District, and I thank you so much for your presentation. I think what's really exciting is to see how excited you are about your talent, your trade, your profession. And I think unfortunately there's many families out there who don't see the trades as an opportunity for their kids. For whatever reason, we've stigmatized labor, the talent and the trades in many of our communities. So I'm just wondering if you had any thoughts about maybe what would be some really good ways to destigmatize labor, which is something we're trying to do in our district. Because I think if I could get you in front of more families, they would be more excited about seeing how excited their own children could be about the talents that are needed in the trades and the work that they do to change, our communities.
I'll give you a response that's something you can do, and if you can get me, and my wife always laughs when I do a talk like this. She says, "Well, is this another free talk?" And I said, "Yeah, probably, honey." She occasionally gets a new purse, but we have to delay that. But it's always fun. Let me tell you something we did at Arizona Western College. It was called Family Night. And initially, it started out as a technical night, and I thought, gee, nobody's going to come to that if we call it technical night. So we called it Family Night. We got all the tech division to get out and showcase something from their division. And we had hot dogs and sodas, and we had face painting, but everybody that came got to meet the faculty, meet our students, see what we're doing. We rolled things out into a big forum on the campus. I know we're a little COVID challenged, and I'll address that real quick, but here's the thing, that family night showcase, you can do that K through 12 by inviting people onto your campus and doing what I call TTT, total team approach, and get everybody there to show the families that, yes, I go to work and I work as a welder or electrician, but I make really good money, probably more than a lot of family physicians in your community do. I worked on the Yuma desalination plant in the early 1980s, and they paid me almost $100,000 in 1980 money then. So
Wow.
you extrapolate that out. But talking about COVID real quickly, we did a pilot program at our college the last 2 weeks of the semester. We did a pre-orientation online for students. They took an online test so that we knew they understood the CDC guidelines for social distancing. We had a agreement for compliance to CDC guidelines. We kept it simple. It's not rocket science. Students came in, immediately were requested to wash their hands. We isolated the equipment so each student knew what equipment they had, no shared PPE, of course. And then at the end of the day, they were allowed to self-wipe down the equipment that they had used. And then on the exit from the building, we asked them again to wash their hands. Everybody wore a COVID mask. There's a picture of me floating around with my lab gear on with my Star Wars mask, because may the force be with you and as you resist the COVID pandemic. But I would tell you that there's room for social distancing this coming year as we move forward with the long-awaited vaccine and other treatments for COVID. So I do think you could do small group stuff, and I think having multiple speakers and activities is doable. And I'd certainly be willing to support you in any way I can. And if I could be there, I'd just hope I live forever doing this.
Oh, I love that.
Artificial
That's
intelligence. I'll volunteer to be R2D2.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Professor Colton.
Thank you.
So we
Oh,
have
Monica.
about, okay, thank you. We have about 4 minutes. Yes. I have 2 items that I wanted to touch base with all of you on. One is thank you to everyone who's sent their feedback on the survey that we send out. We will continue to send that survey in a recap email with the recording of the meeting and all the resources that Rashawn sent out, and Professor Colton's contact information and Madalyn's as well, if we get the okay from her mom. If you already fill that out, please omit that item, but you'll get that in every recap meeting that or recap email that we send out. Last but not least, for the July meeting, we wanted to get a pulse of your availability. We really don't want to lose momentum, and have a little poll that will take only 30 seconds to fill out. We know that July, a lot of people take time off that we all deserve. And we know that a lot of people take that long weekend, the 4th of July weekend. So if you could help us with the poll that I just put on the screen, that way we can pinpoint which day to do it. We already have someone, an industry partner, who is willing to present. We're not going to say the sector yet, or the industry, sorry, but we'll definitely have another awesome agenda for the July meeting. Thank you to everyone who's helping us with the poll. And thank you to everyone for being here, Madalyn, Professor Colton. And now I'll hand over the microphone to Rashawn to close the meeting.
Okay, thanks everyone. I didn't see the poll, maybe because I'm presenting. Just want to make sure that everyone's
Everyone's
poll
answering.
that. Okay,
We got a lot
perfect.
of yeses, so yes. July 15th.
Yay, that's awesome. So yeah, we don't want to spoil the surprise, but it's going to be very interesting. You're going to see how education starts getting implemented and being utilized in the industry. So before I close out, I just want to mention that we have a bi-weekly newsletter that's going on. I try to put up job opportunities for students and even for faculty, because I have counterparts from other regions. And I'll be sending out a few links. I'm saying sorry in advance because I'm going to be sending out a lot of emails, but it's crucial for you to fill it out so that I know that you're interested in some of the software or tools that we're providing for you, and hopefully we can help you find some funding to offset some of the amount as a state. But yeah, that's all I have. Thank you so much for attending. Feel free to send us email if you have any comments or feedback. We would love to hear from you.
Thank you all. See
Thank
you
you.
next month. Adios.
Bye.
Gracias. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm ending the poll. It looks like July, Rashawn, you're still there. It looks like
Yeah.
July 15th is the good one. And we got
Okay.
0 no's. That's awesome. 18 yeses. So it's a go.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Monica.
You're welcome.
And is Heather still there? Heather, thank you
She's
so
still
much
here.
for taking notes.
Yeah, thank you, Heather.
I'm here. Good job, you guys.
Yay. Hi.
Thank God.
Oh, I miss your face.
Yay, I'm here. No, that was fantastic. Great job.
I had some hiccups,
Yeah.
like with technology. The first 20 minutes, I was freaking out. And then Madalyn, we couldn't hear. I also, before you told me, Heather, I also figured out when I muted myself, it sounded weird. And then you texted me, so it kind of like made me unmute. So
It was just during Madalyn's, Rashawn, portion. It was when Monica muted herself, you couldn't hear Madalyn. But then when she unmuted herself, you could hear her perfectly, which is usually reverse. So I was texting her, I'm like, just keep yourself unmuted because then you can hear, because the first part of